Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Let's Talk with Lee Peart. This week I'm joined by Rory Cowlam, otherwise known as Rory the Vet. He is a TV vet and an esteemed veterinary surgeon. He's had appearances on ITV and CBBC, and we sat down to discuss all things animal related. We spoke about the day in the life of a vet in training and Rory's plans to modernise the veterinary profession through social media. Thank you so much to those who listened to episode 1. If this is your first time, go back. You've missed a great episode. But if not, sit back, relax and enjoy this fun chat I had with the delightful Rory. Before doing that, make sure you subscribe. We've got loads of great guests coming up. But for now, here's Rory the Vet. So I'm joined by Rory the Vet. Rory, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Rory, I wanted to say your full name, but you're known as Rory the Vet.
I'm going to change it by default.
I was going to say, you weren't christened Rory, surname the Vet.
Some people think I was, I think. Even some of my clients.
Oh, really?
But no, I do genuinely have a surname of Cowlam, but I think I might just change it.
Yeah.
I like the Vet.
Rory, thanks for coming on. I don't know much, if anything, about being a vet. I know it's hard to believe.
What? You telling me you're not a trained vet?
Look, it surprised us all. The only pets I really had as a kid were fish.
Okay.
Mum and Dad didn't let me have pets. But I want to talk about you growing up. Where were you born?
So I'm from the southwest. I was actually born in Ascot, but then I moved immediately, pretty much in the first few years, down to the southwest of the Cotswolds.
Okay, fab. And how was that?
I think that made me who I am today.
Really?
That move, because it put me in the middle of 3 fields. It put me in the middle of farms.
I assume there was a house.
No, just a field. Cardboard box in a field.
So you're mobile.
Yeah, so there was a house. There was a house full of dogs. There was a house full of cats.
Okay.
Chickens, ducks, geese, you name it, we had it.
So you grew up with... Because I was going to say that. I had fish. And I was... Before you were coming today, I was thinking, I wonder if he ever had... Because I suppose there probably maybe some vets that never had pets.
Absolutely. I actually one of my very, very good mates who I trained with never had a pet growing up, but just had this want to be a vet and work with animals. Had a great affiliation with them, but no, from a very, very young age, I was always animal mad and had loads of pets.
Okay. And so you always knew, I guess maybe not always knew, but from what age are we talking?
My mother loves to tell this story. She makes it very romanticised,
Okay.
and she says basically we got our first puppy when I was 3 or 4 years old, and because I was animal mad, we went to the vet for that standard first checkup and walked into the vet, which at the time was this rundown old 80s building, converted house, sort of higgledy-piggledy inside. Sort of that classic James Herriot, and I don't know if you even know who James Herriot is, but we can touch on that. But that sort of classic old school 80s, very archaic veterinary building.
Right.
And we went in, we took the puppy in, we got vaccinations, and we did all that sort of thing. And I was sort of in awe of this guy, and actually I still see him to this day, Mr. Benson, in his white coat. And apparently, we paid up, we left. I looked up at my mum when we got in the car and said, "Mum, I want to be like Mr. Benson. I want to be a vet." And that's never changed, and that has literally been it for my entire life.
And so did your mum at that point go, yeah, be a vet? What were it?
I'm very lucky. My parents have been the most encouraging parents I could have asked for. They've been amazing. And since that day, my mum said, yeah, that's a great profession. You can do it. You love your sciences, you love your maths. Just push yourself at school and you'll get there. And obviously there's been hiccups, but generally it's all sort of fallen into place. I've been very lucky.
What was your puppy's name?
Lulu.
Yeah. Okay.
As much of a diva as you can imagine.
Because I was going to say, what as a vet do you think about real people names for puppies and cats and stuff?
I love it.
I think it's hilarious.
I love it.
Because I was going to say, you know when you took your puppy in, did they still do that thing? I've never been to a vet in my life, okay? I'm going to come. I don't know why.
Why?
I'll find a pet.
Come and shadow me for a day.
Yeah. Oh my, I'd love to do
Do
that.
it.
But they do, don't they say, so I'm Lee Peart, if I had a dog, I would call it Colonel Mustard.
Of course.
I love Cluedo. So I would say, so Oh, actually, that probably didn't work. If I decided to call it Colonel James Mustard, okay,
yeah,
Peart, because it would be hyphenated,
of course,
they would say, James Peart?
Yes, I suppose that would be the case. Actually, I would personally come out and say Colonel James Mustard.
Okay, so did they do that back then?
It was Lulu Cowlam.
Oh, really? So that's been going on for quite some time.
Yeah,
I just thought it was kind of modern.
No, it can be quite funny. It can be. I love an animal name that is a human name as well. I've got some of my favourite cat patients are called Dave. Just there's no better name for a cat in my opinion.
I agree. It's hilarious, isn't it? And imagine Dave, get here. It's just funny, isn't it?
It's so good. It's so good.
Do you personally walk out? I mean, I sound obsessed with the fact that but do you personally walk out, or is it an assistant?
No, so
you walk out and go, Dave Smith?
Absolutely, it's me, yeah. And sometimes they're very inappropriate names.
Oh, really? Yeah. Like what?
So one person actually wants... How PG are we today?
Oh, word, fine, say whatever.
Someone once called their cat cunt flaps.
No. I was just gonna say we're PG, and I was thinking maybe not the C word.
Yeah, well,
cunt flaps.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to anyone who's listening who is offended by that word. It's just a word. It's fine, and it's actually just a cat. Isn't it?
Well, it is. It's a real cat.
Oh, is it because pussy?
There we go.
I see.
They
took me a while to get there.
They thought they'd been really clever. Turns out they were just being rude, and I obviously had to walk out into a waiting room full of people and try and say it in the least legible way possible so that people didn't realise I was saying the C-bomb. It's quite bad.
Oh, really? And did people realise?
Of course they did.
And did the owner look mortified or smug?
Smug as you like.
I bet, yeah.
She was so happy with herself.
I mean, you're not going to be mortified when you call your cat that. It was a she.
No, of course it was.
I mean, it shouldn't be sexist, but I assumed it would be just some man who's like, oh, hey up, Dave.
No, she was very happy with herself.
Oh, right, okay. So you grew up in the Cotswolds.
I did.
You knew from a very early age you wanted to be a vet. How long does it take to become a vet?
So, I mean, it's something you're thinking about right from the word go, really. Once you're at university, it's a 5-year course.
5 years?
Yeah, 5 years studying. And if you're lucky, you get in as an undergrad. Quite a lot of people have to go into a degree first and then get in as a postgrad. So they're at uni for anywhere up to sort of 7 or 8 years at a time.
Oh, right. So would you have to do a certain degree, or is it just you do anything?
Yeah, so it'd have to be science-based. So,
right.
Yeah, for those looking to get into it, it's generally sort of biomedical sciences or some sort of medical science, then leading into a veterinary medicine degree.
And how come you could sometimes just be lucky enough to get in?
It's all part of the interview process. It's just luck and draw. It's getting harder and harder every year because there's more and more applicants. I think when I applied, there was something like 8 people interviewed for each place, and that's 8 people interviewed. So I think there was 25 applicants for each place, 8 people interviewed for each place at each university. So it's a lot.
Wow. And you went to the Royal Veterinary.
Good.
I can't say it very well. Veterinary.
You've got it.
Have I?
Yeah.
College, was it?
Royal Veterinary College, yes.
Which I'm guessing. Thank you. I've done a bit of research / stalking. I'm guessing because it's royal. That's the top dog. Oh, get what I did there?
That's how many puns can we make today?
I know.
Whew, okay, there's one. We've opened the floodgates now. We are best in the... Well, we are currently voted the best in the world.
Oh, when you heard that, you must have been having kittens. Oh!
Oh, God.
Sorry,
okay,
everyone.
I'm leaving now.
So it's the best in the world?
It is, as of, I think, a few months ago.
So your mum especially... Looking back to her romantic version of getting in that car after you took Lulu to the vets, whether or not that was the full story, but we'll go with it.
I like it.
I think it's lovely.
Yeah.
She must have just been over the moon.
My mother is the proudest mum out there, I think. I hear from her friends that she just doesn't stop talking about me and my sister, my beloved little sister, who's a lawyer. And
really?
She just sort of gushes over us.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure it's horrible for everyone else, but it's quite lovely for her, which is nice.
So where is the college based?
It's actually London based. So I moved to London for university. I've been in London for like 10 years now.
Really?
10 years, God. But
are you a full Londoner? Because I've been for 1.5 now, and I'm starting to get tetchy if people take more than 2 seconds to get through a tube barrier, and I think I'm not even in a rush.
Exactly. And if people stand on the left on the escalator,
unforgivable.
Oh God, people. Anyway, yes, I am full Londoner now. Full Londoner.
Okay.
But I'm a South Londoner. I've started out in North Londoner, and now I've moved to the south.
Talk me through. You go in for your first day at the RVC.
There we go. That saves you saying veterinary.
I'm guessing that's what you called it. Thanks for outing me there.
No worries.
What does a standard, if you could combine, I guess a day isn't the same each day with what you're doing, but what is a standard day? I can't imagine it. Look, I did performing arts. I know, again, hard to believe. And it is what you imagine it's like. You go in, you do a voice lesson, you do a bit of kicking around, whatever. You read a script, you go, oh, I need a coffee.
Nice.
What is a standard day at the RVC?
Surprisingly quite dissimilar. It's sort of the building itself is very. I think it's founded in the 1800s, so it's very Hogwarts-esque.
Is it?
It's beautiful buildings. In London, and then they've got a massive referral hospital out in Potter's Bar, where you spend a lot of your time. So essentially, over the 5 years, you're torn between lectures, dissections, sort of small group teaching with hands-on on greyhounds that are owned by the college, or cows and horses that are owned by the college. You work on farms, you go and do placement at sort of existing vets around the country, and then you do a lot of placement at what's called the QMH, which is the Queen Mother Hospital, which is this big referral hospital, biggest referral hospital in Europe. And in that hospital, you've got some of the leading specialists in the entire world, unbelievable people. And you essentially learn from them. You see amazing surgeries. You see it's an amazing place. Really, really cool.
And when do you start doing kind of? I guess you begin with. I want to say dummies. It's weird. Is it a little? I'm kind of basing what I know on medicine as well.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's the same process. When do you start? When does your first animal come in and you?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say have a go. It's not operation.
You know what? It's not that far off. So I think a lot of medical schools, and I might be wrong here, but I think a lot of medical schools are now moving away from cadaver use.
Yeah.
I think there's only one in London now that uses cadavers.
Mm-hmm.
We still use cadavers. So as veterinary, we use a lot of sort of beagles from testing centres. We use greyhounds. We use donated dogs for those dissections to get used to the anatomy.
Oh, right.
You use dead horses that are owned by the college that have unfortunately had to be put to sleep. And the thing is, it's a lot easier to get your hands on those sorts of things for us to practice on, really.
Yeah, and that is quite. You never think about that when you hear of horses being put down. I know it is terrible, but you think it actually made me think. Oh, at least they are then almost being used still to do good.
Absolutely. Literally 2 weeks ago, one of my clients, unfortunately, I had to put one of my clients' dogs to sleep, and they offered me him as a post-mortem just for practice, right. Which is, for me, obviously, I didn't use him. However, it's lovely to think about donating them to science, because it is all. If we can use them for that, that gives them an extra purpose as well. I think it's really nice.
Absolutely. So 5 years you did that, okay, and you became a vet,
which was dream from
What's the qualification? Do you have I
now have 25, 26 letters after my name or something like that.
The whole alphabet.
Yeah, exactly. It's just ABCD.
It's easy to remember.
You qualify with what's called BVet Med MRCVS,
right.
Which is essentially a bachelor's degree in veterinary medicine, and you're a member of the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. And
so you're leaving. When do you start looking for jobs?
Before you qualify.
Yeah.
So I qualified with a job lined up, conditional on me passing.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Went straight into a 24-hour hospital. And I think that for me, for a newly graduated student, going straight in at the deep end was the only way to do it. I'm one of these people that firmly believes in sink or swim, and you just go for it, do it, and you'll either do great or you won't. You might as well give it a go. And so I went into this 24-hour job. I was doing 12-hour night shifts, 12-hour day shifts. I was working 60 plus hours a week. It was emotionally draining, but I did it for 15 months and I loved it so much. And then I joined my current job and took a step back from doing night work, which was a little bit intense.
I wanted to just go back a little bit where you said a conditional on you passing. What is the exam? Is there theory work that you have to do as well?
So you've got 3 written exams,
right?
An essay base, multiple choice, and a problem solving, and you have practical exams.
Yeah.
So a large part of it is the practical exam, making sure essentially you are fit to go out and treat animals. But I think, and for me, my finals were where it all came together. First to fourth year, you're doing exams all the way through university, but first to fourth year, those exams are preparing you for your finals. And actually, finals was when it all sort of clicked.
Right.
And all the theory met the practical, and it just sort of molded together, and it all sort of came together, and then sort of set me up as a vet.
Was there ever a moment during where you thought, I can't do this?
Oh,
Did you ever doubt that it was what you... Oh, really?
All the time. I had a really rough time through university. I actually ended up failing a year.
Oh, really?
And I had to resit a whole year over a summer, and I was supposed to be doing loads of fun stuff. That time I had a festival booked, I had loads of stuff booked with my mates, and I had to cancel it all and just do 3 solid months of work to revise for these exams. And I just managed to pass those exams and not have to be held back a year. But that was trying. I mean, there were points during that summer that I was ready to throw in the towel.
Really?
Yeah. And all that took to stop that feeling was to go home and just recharge, or go and do some hands-on stuff at the vets, because just refreshing that vision.
Yeah. And did you not have anything else in your mind of what you could do?
If it wasn't going to be veterinary, I was going to do the job that could make me the most money the quickest.
Right. Okay.
And I'm not money driven at all.
No.
I do my job for the love of it, and I think every vet does that. It's not a job where you get paid well. It's not at all. That's a common misconception.
Really?
You do it for the love, and you just do it because it's what you want to do. So for me, if I couldn't be happy in my career, and I think I wouldn't have been if it hadn't been veterinary, then I would have just done what could sort of fill that gap, make loads of money, then retire early.
Yeah.
Go and live on an island somewhere.
So really, essentially, it was like, this is my passion, and
that was it.
And you did it. So you moved into a new job, you said. So you went from a 24-hour hospital to where you are now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what is that? Is that...
So it was a privately owned vet. It's now a just a little group of 3 branches called the Neighbourhood Vet.
That was it. Yeah.
It's modern veterinary at its finest for me. It's very progressive. It's very colloquial. It's very accessible. Our team is very friendly and outgoing and young, and it's just this very bright and vibrant vet. And as I said to you earlier, my vet at home is the stark contrast to that.
Yeah.
And this is something that I suppose sparked my interest in trying to move the veterinary profession forward, whether that be through social media or not. But because I'd always seen that slightly archaic and slightly stuck in the 80s or wherever sort of era veterinary world, I wanted to work somewhere that was really progressive and really sort of modern, and that's where I ended up.
And did you help set that up? Or?
No, it was already set up by 2 amazing ladies who were still my bosses, and they're 2 Australian ladies who are the most chilled bosses in the world, and I'm very lucky to have them because they have sort of let me just do what I want, which is quite nice.
And one of those things is you've moved, like you said, with the social media. And I know we joked at the top of the show about Rory Cowlam and Rory the Vet.
Yeah.
But that is kind of your brand now. You are Rory the Vet. And for anyone on Instagram or Twitter, you are Rory the Vet. Did that kind of happen organically? Did you see that for veterinary stuff, it was, right, we need to kind of bring this out and we need to be on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something that has really happened over the last 2-3 years, and there is sort of the era of the Instagram vet. Through university, I'd sort of talked to mates, and they'd very much taken the mick at me for it, but I said, someone needs to bring veterinary into the modern day. And what easier way to do that than Instagram? Everyone's on Instagram, right? So you've got cute animals, you've got interesting stuff going on that people genuinely are interested in. I mean, even non-animal lovers sort of are interested in what we're doing in the medical side of it. So it's got a bit for everyone, and I think it's a really, really amazing profession. And I love sharing that with people. And yourself, you said you're not really that animal-y person, but equally, I love sharing that sort of side of my life.
Yeah, I love the side of it that I don't know and I don't think about. I like animals. I'm not a massive animal person in terms of I've got loads of pets around me, and I love animals. I do love animals. I think I do think it's a bit odd if people don't like animals unless they're a little bit afraid of them. I think you've probably got something a little bit wrong with you if you're not really keen on animals too much, because how can you not? But I more prefer the side where I'm like, I would never, it's blind to me. It's blind.
Absolutely.
Because I've never been to a vet. I don't know what the process is. I have no idea how you could do an operation on a cat.
Yeah.
On cunt flaps. I have I don't know how to operate on that.
The cat. Yeah.
The cat.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, I think it is interesting, and of course it's interesting because you've got a massive following now, however many thousand followers, and then you did the social media, and then is that where you got spotted by TV?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough. The TV company, so there was a True North, they were producing this new show for CBBC, and they put an appeal out to vets through the Veterinary Times. And yes, that is as boring a publication as you think it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever done like a guest?
I've done a blog for them. Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, I'm joking, actually. The Veterinary Times guys are lovely,
okay,
but it's very niche.
Well, I was going to say, you must run out of things.
Yeah, they're lovely, but it's pretty samey. So yeah, they put a big appeal out, and I remember seeing it and going, oh, that'd be fun, and then sort of ignoring it and just carried on with my job. And I got a text from my mate Roshni, and she said, "You're going to kill me for what I've just done." And I went, "Oh God, what did you do?" She'd called them and given them my details and said, "My mate Rory would love to do this. He's made for TV, da da da." So they called me literally later that day. He said, "Can you send us a little video of something you're just going to film on your phone around the clinic?" So me and my friend Emma, we did this ridiculous, overly cheesy, horrendous little promo video of our practice, and they loved it.
Well, it's CBBC. I was going to say, I think you've got the tone right.
It was very on brand. So yeah, that's sort of how it happened, and it all went from there. So I've got Roshni to thank.
And you've done Lorraine. You went on Lorraine as you.
Gorgeous Lorraine.
Lorraine Kelly.
Oh,
she's coming on as a guest.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait to hear that. The Queen.
The Queen.
The Queen.
You're in good company.
Oh, well, I am honoured.
She's away in Botswana at the minute, but when she's back, well, you got loads to talk about. She's gone on this big safari, and it's all over her Instagram. But enough about Lorraine.
Well,
I wanted to talk about Lorraine, the show.
Absolutely.
You've been on. You give tips on. I think the last time I saw you were giving tips, and we are entering summer times now. At the moment of recording, who knows when people are listening to this, but you were talking about how to keep your dogs cool.
Yeah, and actually I was thinking that this morning as I was walking here, I saw this Chinese Chow, which for those that don't know is a very, very fluffy big dog. And it was panting away, it was getting very, very hot. It's about 15, 16 degrees out there today, so it's a bit warm. But yes, I mean, yeah, essentially coming on Lorraine, doing consumer-friendly advice for those with dogs and cats, and obviously met the gorgeous Angus. Lorraine's puppy, and we've done a few bits with him. My personal highlight was trying to give Angus a massage on television.
Okay.
Which I wouldn't advise for those trying to do live telly. It's quite tricky.
Would you? I think the good thing about that is you're still working as a vet. Would you, if it got to a point where all the TV stuff went, what would you be in a bit of a dilemma there, because you obviously don't want to give that up, but would you just cut down, or?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, I've always said first and foremost I'm a vet, and that's as we've very much talked about. It's been my life for the last 25 years.
And you never lose it, do you?
No, exactly. So the beauty of it is, if I did have to take some time out, which I wouldn't want to, but if I did, I could come back to it in a few years.
Yeah, of course.
The thing about TV, is it's very fleeting. We know this, it's a very fleeting industry. So I think I've got to give it a go while I can. And I have actually dropped my clinical work to 3 days a week. Right. So I'm now spending 2 days a week fully going with the media stuff, which I love. And honestly, I'm so lucky. And sometimes I'm sitting on a train going up to Media City in Salford, and I'm just smiling to myself, going, "How have I wangled this? I have no idea."
Yeah, I do. Do you know what? And sometimes it is a bit uncool to be like, oh, I'm excited. But even coming, we're recording this at Television Centre, and the building itself, going into the studio, seeing like it is a weird thing, and even I don't want to bring her up again, but Lorraine Kelly, where you're there with Lorraine Kelly, who you watched as a child, you do get a bit like, this is. Yeah, I totally understand that, and it is a weird industry, but an exciting one. And actually, you must have the same kind of what's the word? You must kind of feel like you're doing still good things vet-wise, because you're letting more and more people know about things. Like, for example, that thing about keeping your dogs cool, that probably reached way more people than you could because you have a bit of a profile. And so it's arguable that you're kind of being more effective in as a kind of vet spokesperson. I didn't really say that very well.
I know what you mean. And you're right. So this is the thing. I mean, right at the start when I started this out, and we sort of touched on this, but when I started Rory the Vet and that brand, the idea behind it was education. That was it. Yeah. It wasn't about getting thousands of followers and posting cute puppies photos, and it was about educating people, and it was about bringing sensible and sort of correct advice to people in a trustworthy platform. Because anyone that owns a dog, anyone out there that is listening to this that owns a dog, will know that if you take your dog to the park and there's people there, they will give you their 10 best pieces of advice about dogs. And I guarantee you that 90% of them are absolutely wrong.
Really?
And people come to me and they go, "Oh, well, I've been feeding my dog loads more because someone in the park told me they were too skinny." I went, "No, absolutely not. Your dog was perfect and now they're obese." And that is the most classic one.
And it's weird because you wouldn't be in a park yourself and go, "You shouldn't really be doing that." Like, you wouldn't start giving them advice of that, and on the flip side, you wouldn't start taking advice from a random person approaching you in the park.
Absolutely. Just
because they've got a dog doesn't mean they're qualified. I might start getting a dog and start telling people to do things. Follow me on Twitter.
Honestly, people will do that. People will listen to you.
He told me to. He had a dog. It's trustworthy.
You could start. I mean, maybe we could start like a nail painting trend or something like that.
Exactly.
And all my clients will start bringing their dog because, well, this guy in the park, he did say that they prefer their nails being painted.
Exactly. Yeah, they do.
So yeah, it's
just
about
anyone listening. Do not paint your dog's nails.
Or at least use something that's not toxic to the dog. So yes, it's about being a trustworthy port of call for people, and that's, as you say, hopefully I'm reaching some people.
When you are in a park, for example, or out and about, and the only way I can describe this is I trained as an actor, so I sometimes go and watch plays or films, and it's annoying because I'm like, I like their choices. I like what they did there. As a vet, do you look at animals and be like, there's something I sense wrong? Like, do you have a sense?
All the time.
I bet. You can't, yeah.
It's horrible. It
is a bit of a curse, isn't it?
Well, because obviously there's a lot of dogs out there I want to say hello to, but I find myself, I'll like have them bouncing all over me, and I'll just suddenly end up feeling, I don't know, like a luxating patella or something like that. And then I'm torn in this weird situation where I go, do I tell the owner and be that awful person in the park that's told the owner what's wrong?
Well, not that awful when you are a trained vet.
Yeah, but then you've got to explain it to them, and then they might go, "Well, who are you? And are you lying to me?"
I'm Rory the Vet. Do you not have Instagram?
So it's this really weird, awkward situation. So quite often I just try and bring over a glaze of just puppy lover rather than vet.
Totally, because otherwise your time would be taken up.
Oh my goodness,
left, right, centre.
I can watch them walking down the road and I go, yeah, well, that's 2/10 lane on its left foot. That's not. No one needs to know that.
No. Rory, I always ask at the end of each of these your mantra for life. Do you have one?
I do, and it's quite a modern one. and you may have seen it in things like memes, but it so rings true
Okay.
for me. And I wake up every morning, I've actually got it written down. It's really quite
Have you?
sad.
Where?
On my bedside table. I've got it written in
I thought you
calligraphy.
were going to say on my backside.
I've got it tattooed across my backside. I get up in the morning, look in the mirror, and it says,
Yeah.
be the person your dog thinks you are.
Oh, very on brand.
Very on brand.
I haven't seen that.
Have you not? Well, there we go. I'm glad.
That is a great one.
If you think about it, you to your dog, I know you're not a dog owner, but you'll know.
No, I would like to get a dog when I'm older, though.
You to your dog are their life, their soul.
Yes.
You are everything to them. You are the best person in the world. And if you can even be 2% of who your dog thinks you are going to be a better person.
That is great. That needs to be a meme.
There we go. You can start it.
Be the person your dog thinks you are.
Absolutely.
Not cunt flaps, your dog.
We had to mention it one more time.
Rory, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Rory the Vet.